Thriller and World War Z, pop culture alert. Now, I had some music to go along with this because I thought I'd say it. But it was kind of a scary type of beat. I liked it. My man sent me some new beats. I had a new computer I was blessed with by one of the members of the temple. And, big shout out to you, Precious. But things just wasn't working out. And I'm telling you, I'm kind of, I ain't gonna say I feel some type of way. I'm gonna tell you what type of way I feel. I ain't happy about it. But I said, nah. And then this will be the third time I try to do this video. Now, I tried to do it from the YouTube camera because Mama has sent me a message to say, why your voice slow down at the end? And I know you're a new viewer, and we done went down through this before. My first thought was they was playing around with my audio. Then I started looking at my webcam, and it looked like sometime when I'm taping, I can see the time like getting froze up. So I don't know what the source of that is. So that's why I tried the new computer. And I tried the YouTube camera, and I'm a real goofy goober for that. I should have known better than that. I got to talking good and dropping one-liners like Rodney Angerfield. And next thing I know, it cut off talking about we've had a technical difficulty. So I had to do the whole damn thing over again. And so now I don't want to play no music. My grandma used to say I was hateful. I'm feeling ornery right now. So no, I'm not even going to accept that. Everything is all good. Hello, everyone. This is Unplug 'em. And this is really a serious subject, but we family. Can I talk to y'all sometime? Gee, Mo Nelly. Thriller and World War Z, pop culture alert. Matthew 24:24, signs and wonders in these days. Now we know what it says, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Now, the part that I always like in that scripture is if it were possible. That means that we'll be able to see through these things like saran wrap, and it's a wrap. Now, it also says that there shall arise false Christs and false prophets. Now, false prophet, by what we know and understand, who would be able to do these type of quote-unquote signs and wonders, would qualify as a witch, a warlock, a mage, all y'all Warcraft playing suckers. You know all the different categories, it's all the same. And you shall not suffer a witch to live. And I believe it. You better believe it too. Hear me now, believe me later. So we're going to see a lot of things manifested by the witches and warlocks that comprise the powers that be. Little do some people know, when Hitler brought over, or rather when we brought over the scientists from the Nazi science program over there, they didn't just build rocket ships and set up NASA. No, they took some of the things that they learned from the occult society that practices magic like they all do, and occult is just hidden or secret. So it was a secret society called the Thule or Thule Society. And that society is truly who set up Hitler to do his thing, to attempt world domination. And they set him up, and they gave him the game. Their magicians taught him the mannerisms and whatnot to cast spells by body movement and body positioning. That's why he looked like he having a seizure half the time when he's talking. And they also helped to give the scientists knowledge from the esoteric realm and from the spirit realm. And so the scientists were on an agenda that can be reflected or can be found in one of the quote-unquote lost books of scripture. And if you read it for yourself, or you can listen to it, if you go on YouTube, they have audio books of the book of Jasher. It's good to read, Some of y'all don't like to read, you need to read. But if you look at the book of Jasher, you'll find that it will ring true as being a great supplement, if you will. Not that you need one, but some people have questions. And if you got questions, God got answers. And we're in the days now that the book of Jasher predicted, thus giving more credence to the fact that the prophets of old that wrote the scriptures were 100, and there is no other group of scriptures that is as 100. And the book of Jasher was once in the collection of scriptures that we call the Bible. So it's worth taking a look at. Nothing else. Take a look at it. Don't get mad at me. I didn't write the book. I'm just telling you about it. But the book of Jasher was kept out for this reason. Because we're now looking at a time where the half demon, half human objective is at an all-time high. Its manifestations are at an all-time high. You're seeing more people, especially in certain countries. More and more people are catching these things on camera. Everything you see on YouTube ain't real, but everything ain't fake neither. You got to be able to discern with your eye. So, and really by your spirit. You test the spirit by the spirit. But some of you have eyes to see, so you can look at it and tell, right? So when we look back at the old horror movies and look back at the zombie movie phenomenon, the zombie movie phenomenon was largely considered to be too juvenile for the horror movie phenomenon of like the 80s and the late 70s, the slasher films like Jason and Freddy films and the different knockoffs of that. And that's because people saw those ideas like zombies, the undead, they saw that as being too far-fetched. Well, it was not for that time. They brought it out at the time that they did. You know, when they bring a program back, that is because now it's time for the program. When they first drop it, they're allowing for their writers and for their producers and for their directors to get a leg up on other writers and producers and directors because they're not creative. Lucifer is not a creator. He's a biter, a signifier. And what he'll do is he'll twist up the truth. And so what they allowed for them to do back then, what the spirits that inspired them to write the scripts that they wrote did was put out things that would be real events. And the directors or you know, the writers, screenwriters would stylize those things. And that would pass for creativity. Somebody said, oh, wow, you know, where would you get an idea like a man who run around biting ladies on the neck and turn into a bat? Or, oh, wow, where would you get an idea for a crazy doctor who will put together different dead body parts and create a man? All of these things were ideas that came to them from the demon realm, borrowed from what would happen in these last days and times that the Messiah said would be as it was in the days of Noah. Now, what was going on in the days of Noah? Beside a great disastrous event getting ready to come and put the whoop down on mankind for acting so mannish and wild. Well, there also were, quote unquote, it says giants in those days. We know that to be Nephilim, but Nephilim can be a blanket term when you really break down the different times it's used. And the different ways that it's used. We know it means the fallen one, or excuse me, the fallen ones, but it's really when you use the book of Jasher along with your understanding of the book of Genesis, it gives you greater insight into what was really going on in the days of Noah. And also the book of Enoch. Both of these books are great ways if you have questions. Some people don't need it, they ain't got no questions. I ain't talking to you. But for those that do have questions, if you read those books, it will help give you some insight into the mysteries and the meanings behind that terminology, the giants in those days of the Nephilim. And what it was all flesh was corrupted on the earth, not just mankind. The animals was out of pocket. How could animals get out of pocket? Because these same fallen angels that inspired directors and actors and folks like Bram Stoker, writers like him, people like Vincent Price, who also directed and I believe wrote a lot of stuff, and Lon Chaney, who got famous for playing monster characters. They were also inspired by these same fallen angels, demonic spirits, unclean, unseen entities. And what they were inspired to do was to write about things that would happen so far in the future that the people of that time would only see it as, wow, this is incredibly creative, not creative. And now we're living in the time where they bringing back those same things. You're seeing a lot of vampire films, though now they're looking smooth and suave. You know, their heart throbs, you know. But the program is now ready to be instituted, so they bring the program back. That's why you're seeing a lot of remakes. And I believe it was around the time of Resident Evil, and I think it was another one, another video game, but where they began to replay this program for now. And they do that for a couple of reasons. No, not to prepare you, but to kind of, well, they always feed off of fear. So, of course, horror movies do that. But also for the elite, it's a sign. It's a message saying, message, we're getting ready to drop this program on the people. So, you know, do what you got to do. Build your cabin. Cabin in the Woods, also another movie that kind of touches on this. We're dealing with things that were created by and large by programs like Montauk. And it's even said that on some levels of Area 51 that they also do these type of experiments. And these were things, of course, that were originally gleaned by the Nazi scientists who came here, and people like Jack Parsons, who were both deeply rooted in the occult and in science. So they put in some very special things together, and things that they believe will be able to house these demonic spirits that they call up to jump in you and I. They hope. They can keep hoping on my side. I can talk about you, but no, you can fight them too, y'all, if you want to. Some of y'all don't believe in them. Keep living, but they're trying to create monstrosities that they believe they can put more and more ancient fallen ones in. Monstrosities who will, their hope is help the Black Awakening, create chaos in the land. So we're seeing Montauk manifestations in the days of Revelations. Look it up. When you're supposed to be looking at the game, you can look that up instead. It might be worth more to you than to know what some men in tight pants is achieving. But that's why when you watch those old movies, you see sometimes on old classic stations, or like in the bin at places like Walmart and whatnot, them old classic horror movies, listen to the music. That's why you hear that NWO triumphant Hitleresque type of music for those movies. That old movie music is not scary. It don't say scary. It sounds triumphant, like da, 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 da. You know, they're looking at they're about to win. Their creatures is coming. And that's really the secret behind that. The music says victory, not scary. So I said, were people like Bram Stoker, Lon Chaney, Vincent Price, and the rest in on the secret plans in the future for the Black Awakening or the zombie apocalypse, World War Z? Of course they were. We just explained that. All things done in the darkness shall be brought to the light. Nothing shall be hidden except that it be revealed. So all of these secret plans and whatnot that they've been planning for hundreds of years, all these old, wrinkly, long-jawed dudes have been sitting around planning and plotting this type of stuff. Now we're about to see the manifestations of the very beginning of that. When you're seeing folk running around, acting like zombies and doing crazy stuff, and then I believe it was the CDC and different government agencies playing dumb and putting out things, oh, here's how you fight against zombies. Okay, that's because we're about to really see this type of thing running rampant. It's already running rampant. It's underreported, but you do find news reports about these things. If you look, you will discover, yeah, it's a real motherfucker. So nowadays you're seeing the Lord is calling forth the real vampire hunters and the real zombie werewolf killers and alien killers. When you're talking about Will Smith, I don't think he'd throw rice at a wedding. He might smack a body boy. But every knee must bow. That's right. Think about the analogy of the cross making Dracula bow down. What would that have to do with anything? Dracula's supposed to be a monster, right? No, that's showing you right there his analogy is to a demon. That's what that's to show you. So when you're talking about these different manifestations, werewolves and aliens and all that type of stuff, all falls under the category of what we can term demon. We can use the term demon to categorize all of those things. The devils must reveal who they are and be subject to one authority, given the keys to death and hell. That's why it's so important too for those of you who are allergic to Jesus. Hachu, get you some Kleenex. It's about that time. You need to get your mind right, and because when you dealing with these things and you shooting off the carbine or the 9 at it and it keep coming at you, you can say Big Unc Unplug 'em told you what to do, right? 2 Peter chapter 2 verses 3 and 4 and the book of Jude also talks about the false prophets and apostates. These constitute the witches and the warlocks. And ye shall not suffer a witch to live. I love to say that. That's the Most High telling me you can put them together. Okay. Interesting enough too, also along with the movie dynamic, let's look back at that. Not just in horror movies. They're all rituals. Movies are rituals, more than just messages. I maintain that Halle Berry, when she did her thing, I believe she had to drop it like it was hot, for real, for that old dirty, dusty, no good, what's his name? Billy Bob. Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton. I believe, like Angelina Jolie really wanted him. I believe he's an old perverted, old nasty thing. And he told them, he wanted the baddest chick. And they hooked that up. And anybody that's ever seen that movie and seen that scene, maybe you could feel me. But I really thought more about it when I saw her getting her award. And I don't believe that those were simply tears of joy. She was crying because she felt some type of way about what she had to go through to get that little statue. Have mercy. But also other movies as well. A lot of people look at The Matrix and things like that and they say, oh, The Matrix, oh yeah, The Matrix, that's telling you the truth. That's telling you the truth. Use a goofy game goof. Because it's not telling you the truth. They don't make any movie to tell you the truth. What movies are for is to tell lies built on truth. All carefully constructed lies have the foundation of truth. So what is the truth that you can glean from it? Lots of different things you can glean. Of course, in any movie series that had as much symbolism as those movies, you can pull a lot of things off of it. But one of the main things that you need to know and understand is the Agent Smith dynamic. Agent Smith represents a government or governmentality controlled spirit. Government. The mint is for mentality, for mind. Mint, mind. Govern mind. So a governed mentality is a controlling spirit or a controlling mind. A lot of times the police department, they operate under, I believe it was doing it just then. Have mercy, Lord help me. I believe that the police department also operate under a particular spirit because they're rightfully called. If you look on the back of the cars or if you look at their symbols, you'll see the FOP. That means Fraternal Order of Police. So just by being a police, you are a part of a coven. Fraternal orders, and for those of you that don't want to admit it, that's fine. I don't expect you to. But for those of you that don't know it, fermez la bouche. Just shut your mouth. Okay, you learn. Keep living. But all fraternal orders and secret societies are in the pyramid structure. It's the original pyramid scam. And at the top of the pyramid is the all-seeing eye. And so as long as the all-seeing eye is overseeing, then every brick that falls beneath that will have control by these spirit beings. And especially when you're on top of that, when you're drunk with power and authority, when you're oftentimes placed in a community that you're not from, it's harder to like and care about people whom A, you've been poisoned against for so long, B, they're demonized in the media, and C, they're very different from you. And it's hard for you to, some people anyway, a lot of people, to be as compassionate and to throw all of those things aside. You may be able to do it in your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind can sometimes have a hard time. And of course, you add a gun and a badge and a nightstick or a taser to all of that, and now you have a great mix to create a control spirit cocktail. And the controlling spirit is the witchcraft spirit. People do witchcraft and sorcery in order to control others. So it is a spirit of sorcery that is usually over those departments. So in the Agent Smith thing, you're seeing that analogy, and you're also seeing the analogy of the fact that we have a government that is controlled and ruled by occult forces, and they use their weaponry, their electronic weaponry, and their mind control weaponry, not just to control your mind, not just to brainwash you, not simply to cause you to go to work and then come home and go to sleep and go back to work and come home and go to sleep. That's not enough. But they also want to pump demons into you. The same thing that the music industry is for. The reason that they pray, quote unquote, they curse the master tape. They want everybody listening. Don't you know when you hear a case of somebody listening to Eminem or something and going nuts, that's supposed to happen every time somebody listens? So it's only to the grace and to the glory of the Most High that it does not happen every time. And that you let stuff slip by you, and you get to listening, and you're popping your fingers and rolling your hips, and you don't turn around and stab grandma in the chest. That's only to the grace of God, because that is the agenda. There are demonic forces pumping through the air at all times, through the cell phone tower, through the cell phone you keep up against your big head, and through ELF towers, ELF towers, electronic low frequency towers, the microwave, through a million different things, through the TV. They're trying to pump the atmosphere full of this fear, atmosphere, and they're trying to pump it all throughout the airwaves, the prince of the power of the air. And their hope is that enough people catch it, along with the monstrosities that they're creating, even children too. There's a movie now, I believe it's a TV series. The Groks talked about it. I forget the name of the series, but in the series they have children also taking part in the killing, being guided by witches. And of course there was a Stephen King movie about that. What was that? With a little Children of the Corn. Okay, so that takes some of the creativity that you've given these people. Oh, he's a genius. Stephen King is a genius. Stephen King looked like they made him at Montauk. But what we're seeing is these people unleashing and letting loose different pieces of the plan. They're not even that clever. They're not that clever. You ever heard Stephen King talking? Have mercy. Yeah, I'll ride on Stephen King. I ain't scared of him. He's like he weigh about 105 pounds. Dripping wet and covered in oil. But so nowadays we're looking at the Agent Smith dynamic in full effect, which of course again is the analogy for a demon possession takeover orchestrated by the powers that be. That's why he was dressed up in his suit and tie. Wasn't it funny looking? How he fighting like that in a suit and tie? Looking like an IRS man, right? Though they're not really an official, y'all know about it. But the IRS type of look makes you think government. And so he was to represent, even a politician, he was to represent looking like one of the powers that be. And the ability to multiply himself was analogous of demons being able to transfer from one person to another and then another and split in two and all that other type of stuff. Think of how the anger spirit jump around, you know. Now, today we're looking at the real vampire hunters and the zombie killers and the werewolf and alien killers being brought out because there will be those of us who will be able to bring those things subject under the authority of the name that is above all names. Now, another thing, of course, that you find going on today, a big thing, is the doll dynamic. You've got the idol, is where you get the word doll from in the first place. An idol. And interestingly enough, the creepiest thing about a doll is usually the eyes. But it has to do with the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. Now, I remember my mama had a homegirl who had a daughter, and I used to take her doll and her Ken doll and her Barbie doll, and I'd make them do it inside the Barbie house. So you see them dolls, you know. Now, where I get that from? Well, your grandma said you was hateful. No, that wasn't it. But them dolls have certain spirits on them. And all your dolls, this is what the genius of the Chucky movies come from, right? Child's Play. No, it wasn't genius. But all your dolls, look at the Barbie programming that goes on with Mariah and that poor girl, Nicki Minaj. She knows what she was getting into. I can look at her and tell she was a real goofy goober at one time. But you look at the Disney dolls, especially. We know Disney is known for his mind control programming. He also has been linked to pedophilism, and we know he was crazy as a loon. He had his head froze in cryogenic chambers. This was news, well-known news and common knowledge all the time I was growing up. But of course, Disney has a huge empire, and so they've done a great promotional and publicity campaign to try to clean up the image of Disney, because Disney has been long accused of wrongdoings by church groups and Christian organizations for, I know, for 20 years. I know when I was first coming out of high school, and I graduated in 91, I was first hearing about church groups didn't like Disney. I thought it was the craziest thing. I said, boy, these church people, they so uptight. They need to relax. That just goes to show you, you keep living, you learn something. I had plenty of knowledge at that time, too. You can get knowledge. You can teach a 3-year-old knowledge. You can speak French and Spanish and do higher math. But it takes time and experience to gain wisdom. And it takes the two, knowledge plus wisdom, over time to give you understanding, to know how knowledge is applied and when it's applied. So yes, you have the half demon, half human dynamic, a big thing going on right now. If you think about Monsters, Inc., you're seeing demons as hybrids all the time. Whenever you see little demon people walking around supposed to be monsters, think about Sesame Street. This is symbolic of that. This was to get people mind ready for this, because guess what? In their great Atlantis, which is the great work of the secret societies led by the Illuminati, their great work is to create a new Atlantis. And in that Atlantis, some of you foolish folk want to believe Atlantis is all great and all gravity because you read a couple of Aquarian Age books from the New Age section at Borders. But in this new Atlantis, there's supposed to be all kind of creatures walking around kicking it with you. That's right. And that's what Sesame Street supposed to prepare the children for. So you mean to tell me that baby can't look at Sesame Street? Well, you pray about it. I don't know what to tell you. So the book of Jasher, which was kept out for this reason, because it revealed the fact that there would be a time, there would be as it was in the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, one thing they was also doing was mixing and matching. That's one reason all you hungry, happy, hip people ain't supposed to be eating crabs and spiders and all type of water insects. Those are insects of the water. Eat you something that walk on the land. You're supposed to eat fish if you're going to deal with something from the water. And, of course, Jesus ate fish. It was good enough for him. See, it's doing it now. Okay, I see it doing it now. Okay, every time I hit on a certain note, it's doing it. So what you want me to do about it? They chopping and screwing my voice like DJ Screw around here. Deal with me. Help me out. Pray for me. But anyway, Lord have mercy. What I'm supposed to do. But yes, I done told you about these spiders and different things. Some of y'all like spiders. You put a little butt on it and you suck its legs. Have mercy. And I ain't gonna talk about y'all that like crawfish. Crawfish. Don't no fish crawl. Have mercy. They'll tell you anything. You'll bake a snake. When a seafood dies, you eat every time you see food. But yeah, you look at a crab and tell me that ain't no water spider. It go against your better sense. That's part of mind control. When you see something is one thing, and you see it clearly, but your mind been tricked because he done took you here to Red Lobsters. You're gonna get the most expensive thing on the menu. Don't you notice all of the delicacies and most expensive things, the nastiest thing you could eat? You know what escargot is? That's snail. That's supposed to be good eating for rich folk. What about caviar? That's fish eggs. This sounds like things reptilians eat. Have mercy. But they serve you some garlic biscuits with it and you just as happy as you can be. I don't know what to say for you. But God has not given us the spirit of fear. Our God is superior to plagues, monsters, Nephilim, etc. And the best defense is a great offense. The best defense is attack. Because the Master has our back. And he has the keys to death and hell. And none of these things can even happen or get to the levels that these enemies want them to get to if the praying crew gets to praying. And then when you see something funky going on, if you know how to cast it down, because when it says every knee must bow, that means if it's a hairy knee, if it's a reptilian scaled knee, if it's a little short gray knee, okay, every knee must bow. So this, I'm trying to give you something for the future. Hear me now, believe me later. Calculator, you can count on it. So that's what I want to say to you today. And if you think about the doll dynamic, if you remember in the Exorcist movie, that's how the whole funk got started. Her old dude went over there to the Middle East or somewhere on an archaeological dig, brought back some old funky looking demon doll. I want to say, well, no, I ain't going to say the name, but it was a real demon name. And brought it into the house. And next thing you know, Reagan is sticking the cross up her dress and head spinning around, hurling everywhere. And so this is a key way to bring possession into your home. In the practices of black craft and voodoo and Shango, you will find that dolls play a huge part. So you got all them creepy dolls around your house. You know, my granny, she collect dolls. She got about, I don't know, she must have 30 or some odd dolls. And interestingly enough, she's suffering from dementia. And I do believe that the two things are related, not only that, but the fact she was an Eastern Star. So again, you want to do all the things that you can do to try to keep this stuff off you. If you know, if you don't really want it, and if you do want it, you ain't got a clue. So again, this was just a little message from Unplug 'em, straight to you, about the real Thriller. And yes, Michael Jackson Thriller. Let's hit on that one time. You said, "Oh, wasn't that cute? He took the little girl. What was her name? She had a funny name. What was her name? Ray. Oh Lord have mercy. What was that girl name? She was famous for a minute because she starred in that video with Mike. Geez, Monelli. I can't. Irene. No, it wasn't Irene Cara. I'm thinking Fame. Have mercy. I got my 80s stuff all mixed up. Y'all know who I'm talking about. That chick that was in the Thriller. I'll tell you, I was frustrated. This is about the 4th time I did this video, so I don't want to hear no complaints. Now, don't make me get on there and get to putting folk in the Cuisinart. But, no, I love you. I love you all. I love you all. I bind the spirit of frustration and cast it out of me in the authority of the name of Jesus. But yeah, Thriller was about this same dynamic. And who was the famous voice on Thriller? I've sampled it a million times. Vincent Price. How Vincent Price have anything to do with a damn Thriller song? Have mercy. It made me cuss twice. Lord, I ought to not put this up. But yes, well, that's in the book at least. Have mercy. Forgive me, I repent for the spirit of profanity. But anyway, Oh, goodness gracious. This is what happened if you do a video about 4 times good. Have mercy. I should have just said forget it, balled up the paper and throwed it out. But anyway, yes, in the Thriller video, and another reason why the Jehovah's Witness group, which they're not all bad, y'all. The leadership was on some stuff. Charles Taze Russell was a member of the Brotherhood. He was buried in a big pyramid-shaped tomb and Egyptian stuff all over it, so he was down with the hookup. But Jehovah's Witnesses as people, among believers, sometimes they're more educated and they're more willing to separate themselves from things of the world, and that's to the grace of the glory of God. But anyway, a lot of folks was up in arms, period, in the believing community about Mike doing Thriller. Because guess what he did? He brought back the whole zombie dynamic too. Zombie pictures and stuff was not what it was. Now listen back to the song Thriller and tell me what you hear now. Listen back to it. He was not singing about what the video was about, and we've talked about that in the Songwriter's Secret a number of times. What is the real Thriller? What is really about? What really give you a thrill? They say when that spirit come over you, and I saw several times in deliverance, in the process of deliverance, in battling or wrestling with these spirits, that they need you to have fear. Want is not a strong enough term. They need for you to have fear, and they'll try to put the energy of fear on you. I could feel the little tingle that come up the back of your neck. When you're finna get pulled over and your license ain't right. I could feel that tingle coming over me. And oh no, you don't know nothing about that. Okay. Ask your brother, you ask your sister, they know. But I could feel that tingle coming up my back, and I could feel the little hairs rising up, and I wasn't scared, but he was trying to push fear on me. Okay, and that's like a thrill, like the similar thrill that you get at the amusement park. How amusing is it to get scared? That's another way to split your mind in two. That's another form of the Ed Hardy love is pain and hate is love and all that other type of confusion stuff. It's to confuse the brain into confusing fear with the good emotion of joy or happiness or love. Some of y'all love to get on the demon drop, or you love to get on the Gemini, right? Duality. That's why it's called Gemini. Out of all of the signs, quote unquote, of the zodiac, why do they call that big twisting thing the Gemini? The corkscrew. Screw you up. Screw your mind. Okay? Twisting. Turning. Like the Twilight Zone intro. Twisting. That's part of mind control. The turning, the twisting. So I believe that we broke this down well enough. It's long enough, and I'm tired of it anyway. So I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you stopping by. I promise tomorrow it'll be better, because I'm not going to try to do the music, and I'm not going to try to use the new camera yet. I'm going to figure out some things. That way I won't be frustrated. And, that's all I can really say to you right now. But I love you, and I do appreciate your viewership. And I hope that this was beneficial in some way. To the glory of the Most High. It is so. Shalom.